Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie Miller's Girl, and this movie is a movie that I really have a love-hate relationship with because I actually enjoyed the movie for the most part until you get to the very ending. I feel like the movie was trying to build towards something but then ends up sort of falling flat, honestly, and I felt like it was very anticlimactic. So the movie mainly stars Martin Freeman, who actually portrays the character as Jonathan Miller. Now in this movie, Miller is a writer, and he's someone who's had a lot of success with writing, but not in the more recent days. So he ends up becoming a teacher or a professor, so to speak. I believe it was at this private school, and so he's teaching about writing and all this kind of cool stuff, and he's trying to teach his students different ways of being inspired, and he's trying to point them in different directions to different novelists and writers that they can read and get and grow and love and become novelists and get their inspirations to do their own work and whatnot. But Miller himself really has been pretty uninspired and really hasn't written anything new in a very long time. And so in comes another character known as Caro Sweet, who's portrayed by Jenna Ortega. Now, she, of course, is an inspiring writer herself, or she's unaspiring writer, aspiring to be a writer, and so she ends up getting very attached to Mr. Miller because of the fact that he, of course, has already been a successful writer, at least at some point. He might not be writing right now in the present day, but he has had a lot of success with his novel or his book in the past. So this really makes Caro attached to him and really makes her inspired, and she really grows attached to him, on a very personal level. And of course that's really why the name of the movie is Miller's Girl. Now I actually thought, especially from the marketing and the trailers of this movie, I thought that they were going to really lean into that relationship between Caro and Miller and really give us almost like I didn't look at the genres or anything like that, but I was kind of hoping for more of like a psychological thriller type movie, but it really wasn't like that. And I felt like the movie kept building and building and building to something that I was expecting to happen, but then it never really goes there. And I'm not even talking about like an affair, like a student-teacher affair. I'm not even talking about that part of it, but I just mean like there were times when I really thought that Caro was going to, well, essentially I just thought it was going to turn out to be some form of like blackmail type thing, but then as the story goes on, I just felt like the story ended without really having an ending. And it does have an ending. I mean, yes, obviously there's a conclusion, there is a third act, but it was just so anticlimactic that I was just kind of like, really? Like, this is how the movie ends? And because they did do a relatively good job at building the movie and like sort of building sort of building toward a climax, but then the climax never really happens. And so what ends up happening is you end up getting this really weird situation of this teacher and this student and their relationship, which is definitely blossoming and they're definitely getting closer, but nothing really ever comes out of it. There's no real ramifications of anything for either one of them, really. And there was one scene in there that was really weird when Miller is actually reading a piece of Caro's writing that she hands into him to be graded. He tells her certain ways, gives her like special projects and stuff because she does stand out to him, so he is sort of favoring her to some degree, but it's never like on an affair level. It's not like he's there trying to, he's not trying to have sex with her or do anything like that. He just actually legitimately sees that she's probably got potential to be a great writer, so he gives her and assigns her these special projects. And of course some of her inspirations are people or novelists or writers that are very graphic and very dark and very adult, and so she actually chooses one of those authors and then wants to sort of write her own sort of piece of writing that's very heavily inspired by this one very dark adult author. And so she writes this, quite frankly, almost like a masterpiece novel, and then she hands it in to her teacher, but like the teacher says, Mr. Miller, you can't, I can't accept this is very inappropriate for you to give me. And this really is what triggers her to sort of the downfall of their relationship. This triggers her, to become a little bit angry and upset, and she's like, well, how can I really express my writing? How can I really be a true great writer if you're not even going to grade it, you're not going to look at it? But he's also trying to reiterate to her that this, I'm your teacher, you can't be giving me this kind of dirty, very adult, sex scene type of novel because he is nervous and worried that, you know, the school and even his wife will potentially think that they really did have an affair. And so although they were very close and whatnot, they never really go there, you know, really. But you know, the moment you even get accused, or the moment someone even thinks that you might have done something, you know, in the eyes of the public and the school and your wife, you're automatically guilty, even if you didn't do it. People are just going to think you did because of the accusation itself. And so there were some small little, like, subtle little things that he had to deal with, but it was never, they never went to places that I was hoping they were going. If you're going to have this story about like a student that's in love with this, that sort of falls in love with this teacher, like, why not just go with it, go the whole way, let there be like some form of like bloodbath or something at the end of it, let it become like a psychological thriller or something like that. And for me, it just really fell flat. There was one scene that once again was kind of uncomfortable, you know, with Jonathan Miller. He's reading her writings, and then he ends up, you know, like masturbating to it. And so, like, that was kind of a little weird, you know, because even though he was, you know, withholding, like, he wasn't touching her or doing anything with her directly, you know, he was still, you know, doing stuff, I guess, with her in her mind, or her writing, you know, really forced him to go to that level, so to speak. And so, you know, overall I did like the movie more than what I didn't, but I still didn't really think it was that great. You know, if I had to put a number on Miller's Girl, like, I'd probably give it like a 55, because I did like it more than what I didn't, but just barely. You know, I did find it very anticlimactic. I loved the build-up. I loved the Act 1 and even most of Act 2, but I was really let down with Act 3, and I really thought, you know, once you get to the second half of the movie, I did feel like it kind of just dragged on, and it did sort of become less interesting, and I did sort of, I just didn't really care for any of the characters by the time we got to the end. So with that being said, folks, that's my review of Miller's Girl. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one, take care.